Target has been located. Ho, ho, ho. Santa? Oh, shit. Alrighty then. Oh look, he left some presents under the tree. Let's take a look at those and see what he left. The Grinch for the Game Boy Color. This game was released in the 2000s, around the time when the Jim Carrey's version of The Grinch was released. And this game was also made by Konami, the same company that made Contra, Castlevania. So that only leaves the question, is this game any good? Well, let's pop the game in and let's see how it is. Alright, so now here is our first cutscene of the game. And oh look, there's Martha May holding the gun. You know, the one that she shoots the Christmas lights onto the house with? Man, that thing is so cool. I would love to have that for my house for Christmas. And oh look, there's Mayor Who with somehow a strangely blue hair. Because I thought it was gray in the movie. Well anyways, and now there is the Grinch. Now, the design of the Grinch, but not just for the Grinch, but for all the other characters as well, since that this game was released for the Game Boy Color, obviously between the Game Boy and consoles, the Game Boy is only limited with so much you can do, and the cutscenes were the one things too I was worried about, and to be honest with you guys, it looked pretty good. I mean, the Grinch really looked like the Jim Carrey's version of the Grinch, but just in cartoon form. And that's another thing, though, too, as well. They did such a good job taking the characters from the live-action film and making them look like a cartoon character, but not just a cartoon character, but they really kind of did it like a Dr. Seuss kind of style. So it kind of like looks like if Dr. Seuss made a book about the movie, that's what it would look like. So I think that's another thing that was really cool. Alright, the cutscenes are all done. Now the game finally begins. And it's just your Pac-Man-like style game. You're the Grinch, running around different mazes with details of Whoville, and kind of like Pac-Man where he collects the pellets, you collect presents. And also kind of like the Pac-Man game, the Who's chase you, but kind of like how the ghosts, how they chase Pac-Man. But unlike the ghosts, the Who's will stop chasing you after they get tired. But there is a way to stop the Who's from chasing you, and we all know what that is. By knocking them senseless! No joke, you knock them out so hard, they shit out candy canes. And I also do know what my friends are going to be saying right now. Ryan, really? Another shit joke? Well, let's take a closer look at it, shall we? Alright, now there's a Who. Look at that. You don't see a candy cane in their hand. Alright, let's grab a snowball and throw it! Ah, now you see it. Shows up out of nowhere. I rest my case! And it's not just the kid Who's that chase after the Grinch. No. There's adults, cops, and dogs? Yeah, so really quickly, let me explain to you about this one. So there is a part in the game where you progress up to higher levels. There is a part in the game where you get to play as Max. So that's where the dogs chasing after you comes into play. Alright, so now we're even further into the game, and I've never seen this part of the game before. Now the Grinch is looking for parts to make his sled, but you don't have any of those parts. So now, what do you have to do? You have to go through Whoville, and you have to go through the Who's to get to the junkyard. You know, it's funny. In the game, you have to get through the Who's to get to the junkyard. But in the movie, the junkyard was still on the mountain just a little ways from his house. Alright, so the Grinch has finally made his sled, he has finally put on his Santa Claus suit on, and now it's time to go and steal Christmas. Wait, now you're stealing Christmas? What about all those presents and stockings and bones you collected before this point? You mean that was all for fun and for jokes? Well, also, too, I can't forget during the beginning of the film, he did screw around with the Who's in Whoville before he did steal Christmas. So that does technically follow the movie. I wonder if it's gonna follow exactly like the movie. Because remember in the movie Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2? She thought I was Santa? Well, anyways, this level's gonna be easy. Oh, shit! They knew who I was. So now we collected all the presents, and now it's time to go back up to Mount Crumpet and to dump all the presents. So now, as when we go back up to the mountain, the Grinch hears the Who's. They're singing, and his heart grows 3 times bigger. And now he saves all the presents. He rides the sleigh back down to Whoville, and he returns the presents to the Who's. And they all lived happily ever after. Well, that's it, you guys. That is the Grinch for the Game Boy Color. So now, what do I think about this game? Well, to be honest with you guys, this is not the best game of all time, and it's not even the worst game of all time. I think this is a fun, little, decent game. So the controls were good, the cutscenes were enjoyable, and the gameplay for this game, even knowing that the game, has you doing other stuff throughout the game, it really ties in with the movie story really well. And also making it like a Pac-Man-like style game really saved this game, because there were other versions of this game that were released on consoles though. It was released on the PlayStation and on the Sega Dreamcast, and they were both total shit bombs. So if you guys were a fan of the Jim Carrey's version of the Grinch and you guys wanted to play a game based off of the movie, I suggest playing this one, because this one was the best one out of the 3. Oh look, we got another present under the tree. Let's see what that one is. How the Grinch Stole Christmas from the Nintendo DS? I had no idea that there was a Grinch game for the Nintendo DS. And if so, the game must have came out a few years after the Jim Carrey's version of the Grinch. So I don't think that this game is based off of the live-action movie. Maybe just a regular story. But he does look like the Jim Carrey's Grinch on the front cover. Well, let's pop the game in and let's take a look at it. So now the game starts up and, oh, whoa, okay. We're on rooftops. Okay, now it's go time. So now we have to go down the chimney, and now it's time to steal Christmas presents. Alright, so now time for the controls. The controls are very, very basic. So, to collect the items, the presents, and all the stuff in the house, you can press the A button. But you can also use the stylus pen if you will. But then also, the D-pad you use to steer the Grinch. But something that this one has, that the Game Boy version one does not have, are mini-games. That's right, for some of the Who's in this game, there are mini-games to avoid some obstacles. Now the first Who that we're going to be talking about for the mini-games is the Sleepwalking Who. So basically, after you get hit by the Sleepwalker, the game starts up. So then now, basically, the rule for this minigame is that you have to avoid the sleepwalkers. It's very easy. So you take the stylus pen, and you have to click to move the Grinch before the sleepwalker hits you. And it's very easy. You don't need to worry about, oh shit, it's gonna be so hard, because there's a whole bunch of sleepwalkers on the screen. No. Some of them just appear one at a time, but they're all scattered, so it's very easy. And the next Who for the mini game is Cindy Lou. So basically, with this one, it's very easy. So now you have a line of doors, and basically what happens is that Sleepwalker Who's come out of the door, and Cindy will come out of the door. So basically, you have to click on the Who's. You have to click on them very fast, though. You have to have fast-like reflexes. So after you click on them, you send them back through the door. So I guess I never lost in this one. So I guess then when they move or they walk out or whatever and you miss them, you lose. So now the next 2 Who's that we're going to be talking about, the ones that don't have mini games, so now you lose your lives, is, the first one we're going to be talking about is this fucker right here. I call him the Pacing Who, mainly because I don't know what they call him in this game. So I call him the Pacing Who. So basically, he walks back and forth. It's kind of the same thing as the Sleepwalkers in Cindy Lou Who,
But it's just like, but the difference is that there are no mini games, and there are so many of him. So you have to try to avoid him and hide and all that stuff. And it's just a pain in the butt. It's just like, God, I hate him. So now the next ones we're going to be talking about are the sleeping Who's. So now these ones are sleeping in their beds. You don't need to worry about these ones. These ones are very easy. Basically, once in a while, they'll wake up. And you can't be standing right next to them if they wake up. So you have to time it just right to when they lay back down and they're sleeping, and that's when you run. Okay, so now after you collect all the presents and anything that's Christmas related, now it's time to get to the finishing goal, and that is to get to the chimney on the other side. Now, there are 2 chimneys. It could get like a little confusing. You don't go back and you go up the chimney where you started. You have to get to the one that's like kind of decorated nicely. So then now when you get to that one, you go up it, and then after you get up it, it's that smooth sailing of winning.
Okay, so that was interesting. That was How the Grinch Stole Christmas for the DS. So now, what do I think about this game? Well, I could have shown you guys a lot more. That's not it. There are more levels to this game. There are like 10 levels. But throughout all those 10 levels, it's just exactly the same. The gameplay's the same, the soundtrack is the same, and plus the mini games are exactly the same. The only thing that is different is that when you look at the map screen, you will see like different size houses. That's the only thing that's different. And plus also too, I know what you guys are probably wondering, is this DS version of the Grinch game based off the live action film? Yes and no. It is kinda technically, but then also too not really. Like, this game really just throws you out there like, okay, here you go, you're stealing Christmas, now go. There are not really a lot of elements that make you feel like you're playing through the live action film. The only thing that does make it feel like some elements of the movie is that the Grinch right here on the front cover, and then plus on the You Escape screen, and then also on the winning screen where it tallies up all your scores and all the presents that you collected, he does look like the cartoon version of the live action Grinch. And then plus throughout when you're playing the game, the Grinch does wear his lederhosen like he does wear at one point of the live action film. But that's just it. There is not like really like other elements that really make you feel like that you're playing through the actual film. However though, with the Game Boy Color version though, it does such a great job actually taking you from the beginning part of the film all the way up to the end of the film. Even though that, like I said at the beginning point of the review, it does like find ways to take you off of the pathway of actually going through the film, and has you doing like some like other things that are not even in the movie. The game does find its way to actually make its pathway to get back in and to tie the story up with the film really well. So that's like a pretty good thing with this one, more with the DS version. Also, too, the one thing that I'm kind of disappointed with the DS version, though, is that the Grinch does not wear his iconic Santa Claus suit. The Game Boy Color version, right when you get all the way up to where you dress up as Santa Claus, you do see throughout the gameplay the Grinch does wear his Santa Claus suit. The Grinch only wears his lederhosen. He does not wear the Santa Claus suit. And you do see him wearing the Santa Claus suit in the back case right here, and then plus on the You Escape screen, he is wearing the Santa Claus suit. So they just have him wearing the lederhosen, but that is the only downfall that I have with this game. I'm actually really surprised though, overall. I'm really surprised though on how both of these games are actually pretty decent and pretty good games. I actually thought both of these would be bad, or at least one of them would be bad, but they're both actually pretty decent games. And I do have a lot of fun playing both of these games. If you guys want to get into the Grinchy mood, or actually get into the Christmas mood, these are the perfect games to actually get you into the Christmas mood, and plus to like get you in the Grinchy mood as well. Now, after playing these games, and plus doing this review, I really want to watch the original cartoon Grinch and plus the Jim Carrey's Grinch. So yeah, so that's it, you guys. That is my review for How the Grinch Stole Christmas for the DS and for the Game Boy Color. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope that you guys have a good Christmas, and also I hope that you guys stay safe out there. Peace.